Now we are going back to investing. I would like to ask Stefan Glänzer to join me on stage, who has been one of the founders of a company called Ricardo, which was in my hometown. And in fact, my first girlfriend, I guess, was employee number 3 or 7 or something like this.
True.
And the business got sold or merged into QXL, which was this auction house out of the UK. You guys probably remember. Stefan, since then, you made, like Klaus Hommels, the step from an entrepreneur to an investor. Tell us what keeps you busy these days.
Yeah, so reality is I'm not a too big believer in the serial entrepreneur thing, because as a matter of fact, you are losing, with every success, you're losing some sort of your energy. And as an investor, you can still play a very competitive part, but you can go home at a certain time, which you can't do if you're the founder and if you have a startup and run the whole business. So I'm relatively skeptical on the whole serial entrepreneur thing. What keeps me busy is I run with 2 partners Passion Capital, which is a dedicated early stage seed fund. We are based in Shoreditch. We run a co-working space. And we did 40 investments in the last 2.5 years, so we are very, very active, pan-European focus. But really first money in. Our average check size is £182,317.
So you are basically an angel investor of size. And I remember you have been involved in some great transactions, and I was always scratching my head. How does he do that? Always being at the right time, at the right place. I guess the most known ones are probably Last FM and also Daily Deal, but I'm sure I forgot a few. Tell us about some of your successes after Ricardo, which clearly was a great exit back then.
So after Ricardo, I moved to London and did 1.5 years what you dream as an entrepreneur. So you travel around the world, and I watched 62 out of the 64 football matches on TV in 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup. That was a lifetime achievement. That was great. But I got bored. I actually restarted. The first thing I did was restarting a new company. With 26, my blog. I thought blogging is a very, very interesting phenomenon. I started the first photo blogging, you would call it today sort of Instagram, in 2004, but both ventures actually miserably failed. I totally underestimated, with a 1.5 year gap, that the whole digital has changed from push, which was in the first wave, to pull. Luckily, I came across the Last FM guys and had a second time a great ride. I think to answer your question finally after all this blurb, I've been an entrepreneur since I left university, in reality way before. I started my first business when I was 15. It took me 7 years, professionally 7 years, from 91 to 98, to come up with the first good idea. So in this phase, we tried 6, 7 different businesses, all pre-digital, and pretty much everyone was sort of the best, I'd call it, would be mediocre success. So if you do this for 15 years, always in the startup, you get a certain sense, a certain gut feeling. You learn how to trust your gut. To give you one example, was the Kaufda guys, when they came to visit me in London pitching for money, with their idea of bringing the PDFs online. I thought, what a stupid idea. This will never fly, never ever. But I thought these guys have what I call the entrepreneurial oomph. They have what it takes. And I mean, they have created an unbelievable business, yeah. And it's not only that we sold it, I think 2 years ago, but under the regime of Axel Springer, who are doing actually a fantastic job. They continue to grow, and it is one of the biggest success stories out there.
So, like Klaus Hommels and Philip Freise taught us this morning, investment criteria number 1 is the quality of the management team. What you say, the oomph, the hungriness. You are looking also first at the management. What else are you looking for?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. With what we do with Passion is we really focus on.
Is that why it's called Passion? You look for passion?
Yeah, that's what it is. We look for passion. We look for executional capability, and that is actually so beautiful to see in Europe for the first time ever. I mean, all these people coming out of RBS, they just, RBS stands for Rocket Business School. Yeah? So all the guys who come out of the rocket, and after 1.5 years, they have learned tremendous amount of stuff, way more than out in an MBA. And the guys who then make it to start their own companies, they have, on the one hand, what it takes from the passion side, because they want to do it themselves, and they have the executional capabilities. So this is for the first time in Hamburg that we have this kind of breeding system on a massive scale, which in the US has been always the case, first in PayPal, eBay, Yahoo, Google, all the guys who got educated from proper companies, from big successful firms, and then start their own business. So I'm very, very bullish on the European sector in general.
So you pay a commission to Oliver to get his people?
No, Oliver and the guys, they've been my first competitor with Alando and Ricardo, so I saw them as raw diamonds, and I think I have a pretty deep view on what they're good at and not so good at. They've been a second-time competitor with City Deal and Daily Deal. But frankly, I love to be their competitor, because every time, I've been twice their competitor, and every time it created huge successes on both sides. So I'm looking forward for number 3.
Well, we will hear tomorrow morning what Oliver Zamver has to say about that. So looking at the European and the US market, I don't want to miss to ask you the same question. People are saying the US market has currently a few valuations in the digital space which are just a little bit ahead of themselves. Let's call it cautiously like that. How do you feel about valuation levels, Europe versus the US?
As a seed investor, I'm very happy to be active in the European market. More generally, the reason why I left Germany after Ricardo moving to England was, and not moving to the US, was I love Europe, and nevertheless I wanted to understand the Anglo-Saxon way of investing. And as a matter of fact, these guys are just way ahead in their thinking. You might argue whether 240 million for Uber is a bit steep. On the other hand, there might be some arguments, yeah? And having enough access to proper capital can create success. So what we do here with Passion Capital, we try to change a little bit the dynamics of the European venture community. You know, we published our term sheet on the website publicly. We even created a plain English term sheet that everybody can understand. So we try, our average response time between first meeting with a partner and issuing a term sheet is 6.41 days. So we try.
Lawyers must love you. You make them unemployed.
We actually, the last 7 investments, and we do only seed investments. It's different to Series A investments, but in the last 7 seed investments, I think there was not a lawyer involved, because we asked our founders just speak with the others. They accepted the long-form document. It's actually very entrepreneur-friendly. And most of those guys said, yeah, well, if these 18 guys signed this document, I'm happy to sign it as well and save the 5K for the lawyer. The lawyers then get very important once you're later down the line, but not necessarily in seed.
So you have done 40 investments, and I think at every internet conference you hear this one question: what's the next big thing, Stefan?
Oh, if I only knew, that's probably the answer. Next big thing is, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin. We have just done our first Bitcoin investment, and certainly are happy to do more. For me, Bitcoin feels like it's 92 to 94 with the World Wide Web. So it might actually work, or it might actually not work. That is, if I'd be an entrepreneur and 25, I'd start with a Bitcoin venture. Second is, I love everything of implicit data tracking. So every data you can track on the fly and get some, get some recommendations, get some insight out of this. And the third and most important one is that the quantity and quality of entrepreneurs have never been that good in Europe like it's in 2013. So that's very encouraging. And let's face it, I'm having this US-Europe discussion since 14 years now. Have you seen the chart just now? Top 2 grossing apps, number 1 Finland, number 1 UK, globally. I think that's the first time that this most important category is dominated by European players.
Because creativity cannot get bought with money, as we know from Electronic Arts. And I think Zenga, who did an IPO, was financially in a strong position to keep the market.
Yeah.
So wherever it gets creative, money doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, debatable. But yeah, there are certainly arguments for it, Marco.
At least this argument, this example helped me here a little bit on this. Well, Stefan, I want to say thank you to you from NOAH for being such a loyal supporter over all the years. Wish you great luck with your 40 companies. And if you guys want to have an investor who has been in your shoes on the entrepreneurial side, go and see Stefan here in London, who has done great investments, and I'm sure there are a lot more great things waiting for us.
Thanks, Marco. Keep on rocking.
Thank you.